It's been almost 1 year since I uploaded this same video in Spanish, and since then we have opened dozens of companies throughout 2024. That said, if we need to make one thing clear about the UAE, it's that it's no longer a place where you can enjoy a pure 0% tax, at least not if your company makes more than 800,000 euros in revenue. Let's talk about everything related to the UAE because many people still think that you can just open a company and that's it, no taxes, no complications, and that's completely wrong. It's been almost 2 years since they announced the 9% corporate tax, and at first many speculate that it only will apply to mainland companies, but no, it also applies to free zone companies. They introduced a tax exemption on the first 375,000 dirhams of profit, and above that the 9% applies, which honestly isn't bad at all. Then there is another exemption where if your company makes less than 3 million dirhams in revenue, about $800,000, then you are also not subject to the 9%, even if your profit is $700,000. This regime is incredibly helpful for companies with very high profit margins relative to revenue. Now, many people who can't qualify for this exemption because they make over 3 million dirhams in revenue used to just open multiple companies to stay under the threshold and split the income. But be very careful because the FTA, the US tax authority, can detect this kind of structure and reclassify it to make you pay back taxes. Others try to combine the 100,000 profit exemption with a salary payout, thinking that if they take the rest as salary, they will avoid the tax since personal income is taxed at 0%. But this is also a mistake because they will eventually reclassify that as a corporate profit. The FTA is not stupid. A lot of people still believe the UAE tax authority is lazy or clueless. That's not true. Maybe they don't need your money in the short term, but if they catch you doing something wrong, they will go after you, and in the UAE, they don't play around. Another mistake I often see is people operating US LLCs that don't pay taxes in the US and assuming they are safe because UAE has 0% personal tax. But the UAE sees a US LLC as a corporation, not as a registered entity. And if you are doing management and control from inside the UAE, any individual acting as a business must pay 9% corporate tax. So it makes no sense to operate supposedly tax-free company from within the UAE. You will end up paying 9% anyway. Other things is you have offshore company at 0% corporate tax, you have the management outside of the UAE, that's another thing. As of January 1st, 2025, the UAE is implementing a domestic minimum top-up tax of 15% in line with OECD guidelines. This will apply to large multinational companies with combined global revenues of at least 750 million euros in the 2 previous years. Also, don't forget to register for taxes. Whenever you start a company in the UAE, you need to register for corporate tax. For VAT, it depends on your business activity and threshold. Now let's talk about residency. Usually, 2 days per year, 1 day every 180 days, you can maintain your residency permit. With 90 days, you can get a domestic certificate stating you are a resident, but if you want the tax residency certificate that disconnects you from your home country, you will typically need to spend 183 days per year in the UAE. This certificate is supposed to break your tax ties and in theory should help with double taxation treaties. But in the case of Spain or Germany or Brazil, it doesn't help because you are not an Emirati national and in the tax treaty it forces it. So if under any country's internal law you don't live there at all, but they claim you still have a center of economic or vital interest and a higher percentage of ties in that country than anywhere else, you could end up paying taxes in both countries, in the UAE and the other country if the double tax treaty is not good at all. That's why it is interesting to check with your tax lawyer and not just with a CSP, because all people can open a company in the UAE, but not all people understand and read each scenario based on your case. It is not easy to understand 10, 20 or 30 countries mixing the UAE, Paraguay, Panama, Uruguay, Oman, Arabia Saudi, many countries. Regarding to the company, you should expect to pay at least 15,000 euros per year. You can find cheaper options, including accounting and auditing, but the real risk in the UAE is the people often hire an Indian agent who has already read the forms twice, yet sells you the most professional service imaginable and then gets you in trouble. In many cases, these consultants don't even live in the UAE. Also, people that look the prices of the free zones companies in some Emirates, they check that in other Emirates is cheaper than in Dubai. But honestly, I wouldn't do it if the quality of the Emirate is not as good as Dubai. Yes, it's cheaper in other Emirates, but when it comes to corporate bank accounts, it's a headache. You will run into serious problems getting your business banked. You can fill out the form and let us help you determine whether Dubai is the right choice for you. And above all, make sure that even if your home country comes after you, they won't be able to claim anything. We don't just relocate people to the UAE, but we are a corporate service provider there. Also, we have 10-15 countries where usually people go and we can provide that service. If not, we can present to you one of our competitors that we have proved they provide a good and real service.